So you mentioned you work with Sam Ovens, and I believe you're employee number one at consulting.com, correct?
I was, yeah. And shout out to Jesse Clark, who has a case for probably being before me. We were like one and two, but he was working as a contractor, and then we both came on as W-2 the same day. The story goes like Sam bought consulting.com. He was just Sam Ovens, was having a killer year. He was popping up everywhere. I reached out to him and wanted to JV his product because I was like, dang, let me into the community. There's two checks I usually look for if I'm trying to expand affiliate or external revenue. I'm like, is the product, will this protect our reputation? Will me promoting this product actually increase my trust with my students, or will it lower it? Because if it breaks it, it's not worth it. And then so long as it's increasing trust, like, does it have a good earnings per click, or like, will it make us more money? So Sam's was both killer offer. And that was like the 1.0 version of what he was doing. And then we just kept talking through that whole year. He called me the day he bought consulting.com, showed me an insane vision for it, sold me like the most craziest vision that you could ever vision cast. Said we were going to like sell on the NASDAQ in 3 years and hire people from like Geico and NASA and a bunch of other stuff that just sounded really dope at the time.
Did any of that
And
end up happening?
some of it came to fruition. Like Sam, with his, if you want to look at his affirmation journal, I usually tell people his alchemy journal is like a huge hack. Um, he's so good at character design, and even if you get to half of like your vision board, your affirmations, what you want to achieve, if you set them so crazy high and just don't care what anyone thinks, I've seen it work for him and just a few other people, but especially him. He's just so good at that specific skill. So, and he made me read a lot. He did a lot. We were the same age, but I always tell people he taught me at least about 50% of what I know today. That's still like the root for what I do. So, shout out to him. We crossed paths at a great time in my life, and it also was motivating because I was developing the ego. We were both 25, 26, same age, and I was like, dang, he's almost better at everything I'm good at. I need to go learn from this guy instead. So that's, dude, again, why I want to jump on. I always try to find things I can learn from people. And usually, uh, even like Jeremy or Hormozi or Cole, there's certain people that I'm always like impressed with throughout the years. They just stay up to date, they stay current, they learn better than me. And that's motivating to me.
Yeah, 100%. What were you doing before working with consulting.com? That was 2019 that you came on their team. And
Yep.
what were you doing before that?
I was a director marketer at Clever Investor, which he is at Clever Investor on Instagram. And it was in real estate. So my business partner, Josiah Grimes next door, he was one of our star students. And I used to parade him on stage. I was a young director of marketing, now even younger, 23. He was 19. And I
Damn.
remember at some point he became quote unquote outshine the master, so to speak. And I told him on my way out, I'm like, bro, in the future, whenever you're ready, I was like, if you want to teach, that was my niche in real estate education. Obviously, I have a pretty good track record now, but at the time I just had that. I was like, I will publish you. I didn't know what to call it. We didn't call it growth operating yet. I was just like, publish. That's what Agora would say. They're a publishing house. I was like, I will publish your brand. You should teach. Like, I believe that the best expert has the right to teach always. They're not always the best teacher, but I can teach them to be a good teacher. I can't teach them to be good at a thing. It takes too long.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
plus, yeah, like and you probably feel that same thing too. It's like, cool, you can be CEO and you can run everything except the Q&A calls, most likely, and being the actual expert themselves. If you find yourself in that role, bad partner.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Um, and just for the people watching, how would you define publishing? Like that term's been thrown around more. But how would you define it?
Yeah, we need to find like an actual cool term because even growth operating doesn't sound that sexy either. So like
Mm,
publishing, I think traditionally, like Agora would look at it as we sign you, we give you a royalty, and we're publishing you. Like we're gonna almost like a traditional book house publisher. It's like, cool, we'll front you in advance. And I don't know if that's how their deal structuring worked. I think they negotiated everything, custom, which makes sense because of the notoriety of their different experts. So some might want a percentage, and that's what Masterclass does too. Some want upfront cash, some want a percentage, some want kickbacks in a hybrid structure. So me at first, I accommodated everyone. and made a ton of mistakes, honestly, in deal structuring, being a bit too accommodating, but also making things work that other people couldn't because I cared enough to try to align both parties. The flip side is though, dude, are you planning on having like an army like I was of just like 10 to 20 experts on the roster?
We'll see actually, because like I recently dropped all my clients to go all in on one, and that's been
I
like
think
very
that's smart.
helpful.
I
Um,
wish I had done that sooner with Pace. I waited too long.
mhm. Yeah, no, I
Yep.
was gonna ask you about that in the future because I'm sure you have a lot of bloat with like I can't even imagine managing. You have 10 plus info brands and 5 plus SaaS brands, right?
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, it's too many for
yeah.
but like I thought that's what I wanted. I thought I wanted 40, and then I always tell people having an additional one's like getting an additional girlfriend or like spouse. So it's
Mhm.
an actual relationship and you're spending more time with them, and then if you neglect one of them, the other one's going to rightfully so feel like you don't value them as a partner,
Right.
and money often is the driver for where focus is. So it can feel like you don't actually care about them, you just care about money and you're leaning in certain directions. That's what I started to feel. And in a reverse way, because Pace was making us the most money by 2022. At first, like Astro was our cash cow, and then Astro Credit Stack and Sub 2 were all kind of neck and neck. And then Sub 2 like hit escape velocity, shot from the other two capped out around 20 million a year. Sub 2 shot to 60 and probably will, we have yet to see the true peak of it. It's still growing, but it's
What year
definitely
is
slowed
the
down.
what
Yeah,
year is the 60 mil?
the 60 million year was definitely last year, and then I am hazy on the year before. I think we went from. I'll verify this with you in a little bit. I think though, Sub 2, it did 1 million its first month with a micro community, like 5,000 people in a Facebook group. That's how we launched Pace. He had no social influence.
That's
So
nasty.
yeah, it is. Like that's when I knew he was really different. I knew he was different from the day I met him, but I was like, bro, I've never seen that sort of conversion sweep on a micro community. I'm
Yeah.
like, you pulled more than people with 1 million followers would. I was like, you got some real good like equity or trust with this group. And then I realized that that was going to continue until to this day, where he's doing I don't know how much of my content you see, but he's doing 100 city tour in the next 100 days ish. So it's like it averages out, I think, to be a city every 1.5 days. So it's like an
That's crazy.
aggressive world tour. Yeah. And I tell people, I'm like, it's actually worse than being a music artist because it'd be like a music artist who does a VIP meet and greet for 3 hours every night. It'd be extremely draining. So I
Yeah.
always tell people when they want to be Pace, I'm like, Pace wins in a very hard way that he loves to win at, which is going deeper with students. The first months, my brother, who was his community manager initially, uh, was running into scenarios I've never run into, like Pace driving 3 hours to meet with an individual student. And we'd have to remind him, like, bro, push him to the group call, tell him to wait. Like, it can wait. It wasn't that urgent. Did not need the drive to them. Like, you're trying to get out of 1-to-1. So I loved the fact that he was willing to do it because anyone
Yeah.
who's willing to do the 1-to-1 and the actual hard work, when you give them leverage, then it just is like, whoa. So that's the Pace story. Is I have yet to meet someone where I'm like, okay, yeah, you're like Pace. There's a few people who have the ambition and level of work ethic, but they win in different ways. So that's a big thing. What I look for is I don't want these 1 to 2 year offers that burn out, where I burn out, Guru burns out, the market burns out because the course isn't getting updated. No one wants to be there. That is not energizing, and you end up burning through all that cash too, typically because you keep extending the growth rate, and you're like, oh, okay, and then it falls apart. So I've
What
been
are
a part of
margins
that
on the 60 mil? Just out of curiosity.
on 60 million. Let me look at 2022. That was our
Okay.
best year. And then on 60, we were actually the same amount of gross net income profit, but margin shrunk. So yeah, I'll start with our best year and then I'll show you what not to do. Avoid this, and I knew better. It's extending your growth rate even when the growth curve starts to slow. You pretend and keep hiring or spending money at the pace that you assume it will continue. So this is December 2022.
There we go.
I think I should probably disclaim whenever I show financials, this is not financial advice or maybe even our actual numbers. If IRS is looking at this, I'm sure that it is slightly different. This was for internal reporting only. So, but here we were, a snapshot of like one of our first, I think, $6 million months, and we were like riding high. And then on accrual, which means all the cash hadn't hit yet. This is like us, selling payment plans and then thinking we got the money in the bank. We're like, cool.
Right.
We went over 68. Sub two was 40 of that. So it would have been the next year, 2023. We crossed over 60 for sub two, and
Okay.
then Astro ended up having about the same sort of year as it did the this year, and credit stacking continued to grow. So that's the thing is like, actually, when you asked me that question of like, maybe should I like, was it a mistake not to focus on sub two sooner? I maybe like was a year behind of making that decision I did, but I didn't delay it too long. I usually am like, okay, if everyone is playing at the same level, I want to help them all out. But if certain things are really taking off, I had a few friends point out to me who, like us, are growth operators with multiple companies. Because if you get good at doing this once, you usually want to do it again and again and again. And I take enjoyment out of like slightly different niche challenges and a bunch of stuff that's like a little bit different. It's like I feel like 100% I'm going to succeed, and then about 50% of the time I'm right. But what I always tell people is initially like being ROAS positive, that's the easy part for me. Um,
Hmm.
Other people, like, you might have a superpower too. You're like, oh yeah, we never start with paid ads, but like I'm never not going to make 20K on TikTok organic with someone. So it's hard not to start when you know that it's going to work to some degree. What I always say is like our biggest failures and the things that killed us the most were the stuff that was like making 150K um like for the in the first 6 months, and you're like, okay, we didn't make any net income, but maybe this will take off. And then it just wasn't. And then you just keep thinking it will. And then you never get there and you delay it for way too long. So we let, we ended up like being initially profitable on brands, stretching them out 16 months, trying to make them grow faster and then losing money and time.
Hmm.
So that's a problem that's hard to avoid without being really disciplined. Both me and my business partner Josiah, we agreed upon a number, a stop number. Like, cool, this brand ever doesn't get to 150K in 6 months, both of us will call that day and end the relationship. And
So
then it's
that's
like
your
you get
number that
there.
you set?
Yeah,
150K
and
in
then we
six
and
months.
then we made and then we rationalized why we should make an exception multiple times. So I would say be firm with your number, and tell someone up front. Like, setting the expectation takes a lot of the emotional weight out of it. And nowadays, like,
Yeah.
if we were to work together, I'm like, hey man, no hard feelings. Let's hit it hard and both be all in for 90 days. But if it doesn't get to 80K, and sometimes that happens, I don't anticipate it. Let's both decide that it's just not worth our time. And if I say that up front and get a yes from them, then I feel good about it. So
100%.
that I took way too long to learn and to do.
Yeah. A lot of people in my audience, I think they're more on the organic side. They're more on launching like big influencers. So that's what I think is interesting is like it seems all the OGs like you, they focus on paid ads first. You launch offers with paid ads and then build an organic presence. And like
It,
I've noticed in the like newer offers or maybe just like younger offers. So like kids are better at creating content, and so they
yeah.
just like create content just 'cause, and then they're like, oh shit, I can make a bunch of money, and then they launch an
Yep.
offer, um,
Yep.
and then it like turns into a business. It starts as like a passion thing, and then being an influencer. Um, so yeah,
Dude, and that's why, like, when we hop on, I always have so much to learn. It really makes me mad because I love getting good at act channels. But remember, I'm a product of my era. Like, if I was anyone who came up in the 2009 to 2016 era, it was like, let's just call it. It's not a great comparison, but the cost of TikTok ads now was Facebook then, and there wasn't a lot of compliance. So when a new channel comes out and it's popular organically, as Facebook and Instagram were, there is always the ability to hit paid hard and get good at it. So it
yeah,
creates these opportunities where, like, let's call them super OGs before me, the ones that I used to look up to, usually are really good at Google search. They're good at SEO as like their actual. And usually I come along, I'm like, oh, okay, like SEO, that takes way too long. And you spent 10 years mastering it, so I'll never be as good as you. Here's Facebook ads that just launched today, and both of us have the same knowledge of it. So to me, I'm
what do
like,
you
cool. Yeah, I'm gonna focus on that.
What do you consider super OGs, by the way? You mentioned like 2009 to 2016. Like,
Yeah,
what's a
that's it's
super?
not it's I was just trying to figure out. I You might know better than me. Like, what is after OG? Unk status after OG. So I need the hierarchy. So let's just call it I'm measuring generations now in like what act channel they all got good at. So info
Oh,
businesses prior to 2009, they were driven by JVs and like what I would call syndicates of, since paid wasn't a thing, you could gatekeep and be like, okay, I'm not going to promote your offer. Us four, I'm going to promote this week, then he's going to promote, and we're all going to promote him the next week. So they would schedule out these syndicates and control, kind of like how maybe the mafia or the mob would, right? They just controlled demand. So once there was a lot of people like myself, where once we started getting good at paid, we unlocked the ability to just blow past. Because with paid, you can scale as quick or as little as you want. So to me, I'm like, how fast do you want to go? When someone's like, how do we scale? I'm like, you add a zero and then you go faster if you want. It's a matter of, can you liquidate your money, and which is still my primary heuristic, but it's a bit different for maybe organic led info businesses, because to me, like, the number one thing that matters the most is when you're spending ads from day one is like going to Vegas. Is okay, how many days till I get my money back? If I spend $100 today and I have a 5K sale, what's it average out to? Like 3 days on average? Because if so, we're in business. Every 3 days, I turn over my cash and the rest is gravy. I can scale. But if it's 31 days and you're putting it on a credit card, then you're like really risking going underwater. So we got really good at this rapid model where it's very simple funnels. Like the funnel that me and Sam are maybe famous for is like, it's nothing special. It's a 5-page funnel that you just innovated upon by, swapping out two tools that I typically would use with one. So it's not the funnel that works. It's the fact that you can high throughput and velocity through it. And like me and Sam would just max or optimize towards one call close, liquidate, and then you don't have to continue to upsell. Let's call Brunson a super OG, Onyx and Gall super OG, Jason Fladline, who else did I look up to? Frank Kern, the people that were in the syndicate, Eben Pagan. If you if you ever Anthony Morrison, if you ever Google the syndicate by Vice, there's an article where they wrote about internet marketers all like they were price fixing like oil or something like OPEC.
mm.
Uh, and I was like, dang, I wanted to be in that so bad, because I just like, if I could just get in with the good old boys club, then they'll all promote me, I'll promote them. We'll never not make money. We'll control like all the niche demand in the market. So yeah, when there's an emerging other way, and that's what I'm seeing happen right now, is anytime that I'm hearing that someone hits with a new act channel, whether it's TikTok Shop, whether it's Reddit, even right now, I've been hearing
Yeah.
people, especially from a second touch perspective.
Yeah.
Um, People surprise me every day with how much money they're pulling out of channels I thought were insignificant. And then, like, to me, it's a note. I'm like, okay, I'm at a point in my career where I have to play a different role. I can't be, I loved being a media buyer. I loved being a copywriter. I would have like tested everything you told me to do today, tonight. But now I have to prioritize and think about, is that the best case, or is the best case scenario that I just pay you and you come on with my team and we teach 20 people on my team the one thing that you're world class at. And then my job is like to get people to buy into the fact that you're good. Because how old are you, Braden?
I'm 20. That's why I was laughing you
Yeah,
talking
dude,
about like OGs in
I lo-
2009. I was
yeah,
like, damn, I was like 4 years old.
yeah, right. Like I used to be the young guy too. I loved being the youngest one. Like I was
Mhm.
23, and all my directors at Clever Investor were in their 30s and 40s. So they all
Yeah,
thought that like I was this magic talent, and I just told them like, no, I just understand Facebook because I'm on it all the time. It's like how TikTok
100%.
is now. Yeah, so like it just makes sense to me. That's why
Yeah,
it's easier for me. Yeah, and even
100%.
today, I know how to get people riled up on Facebook and IG way better than I know TikTok. TikTok, I don't quite understand it like maybe you would. You're like, okay, no, if you do this, that's the polarizing viral thing that you need to do, or like that hook is too stiff, or the millennial pause, or whatever like little nuances and stuff that people miss. I did that today with my wife on purpose. Just dragged it out. She said 1, 2, 3, go, and I was like, okay, and then just waited 2 seconds. So you can, on certain platforms, that's fine. You can actually make fun of it and kind of drag it out. But on TikTok, if that's a thing, it's a thing. And I've seen kids thumb scroll rates, which is at like hyper speed these days.
Right.
Dude, everyone your age is going to have carpal tunnel for sure by 30. That's the
Yeah,
one thing I'm certain of.
100%.
So that's my big prediction for today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You brought up Reddit, which I want to double click on that real quick. As like a secondary channel, that's something that Jeremy Hans talks about a lot. Is a lot of people are looking up on Reddit. They'll book a call with you, or at least this is his philosophy. And he always says like, if you notice your show rate just start to tank out of nowhere, it's likely because there's a bad Reddit thread that's out about you.
Ooh.
Um, and you can either pay someone like 5 racks to go take it down, or what he recommends is like every quarter make a Reddit post and basically tell your students like, hey, go comment on this post and just share your honest thoughts. Like it doesn't have to be anything positive or negative, just like share your honest thoughts. Because prospects, they're not looking for like the outlier, like 40K a month crazy case study. They're looking for like, how many people is this guy fucking over?
Yep.
They want the
Yeah.
2-star reviews, right? So
Yeah, they want to confirm it, right? Like it's very telling when you look at your most searched Google like searches and it's like Pace Morby review versus Pace Morby scam. One is them being unbiased about the fact that it could be one or the other. The other is like, I want this to be a scam. Please just someone tell me it's a scam so that I can tell myself that it's not possible and go back to living the way I am and don't have to actually change. That's to me, obviously I have a bias there too, but I usually skew towards abundance and if people like inspire, you should just, err with the side of optimism that it is possible. So like if you're just trying to convince yourself not to do something, then it's just a waste of energy. So to me,
yeah,
besides the semantics and like morals of the issue of Reddit, Redditors in general like being a bit skeptical. Like I love that Redditors are hard to like shill, quote unquote. Um, and that makes it even a more fun battleground to win, which is why the reason I agree with Jeremy, I think it's like one of 10 things that can happen. Like with show rates, there's a big check down for me of things that can happen. But that is one where it just like instantly goes south. You're like, okay, what happened? Did we get hit with iOS 26? Did like negative PR piece? Did we say something and like piss everyone off? Did tech break? Did Zapier hit us with a threshold bill and then no one's getting the confirms? So there's so much that can go wrong. And I can give you a checklist. Like I feel like I've run into almost every problem on a call funnel or webinar funnel at this point. And just know it's just a matter of time before isolating. But yeah, on Reddit, that is the one thing. Man, I'm really getting tired of Jeremy being so smart, but that is one thing that I would love to know his strategy because I think I'm pretty good at it. We will identify certain battlegrounds that we want to win. And these days I use Sparkterro and it'll give me the
what's that?
it'll I'll show you. You're gonna love this.
Right.
So yeah, you wanna both me and Jeremy are very much big believers on. I feel he calls it hammer it, right? Like hammer them. Basically,
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
got them on
hammer.
the call, and then you gotta. Me too. I'm like, once you're on my calendar, I'm not letting you see any other ads for anyone. Doesn't matter if it's an ecom product, you're a mom's, paper towel brand or whatever. Like you're just gonna see me ideally. So
Yeah,
at that point, like retargeting frequency through the roof, I'm doing ads, organic, anything I can do to get in front of these people to be like, whoa, because have you ever seen people who are like, man, it was just a God moment. I just started seeing you everywhere. I was like,
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of. I was like, cool, maybe. Or it could just be that like we strategically up the frequency. So
yeah,
once you have what I would say maybe, actually, you don't even need customers to do this, but it is more effective if you have like 100. Um, at a certain threshold, Spark Turo uses, um, yeah, Moz, I forget his name, Rand Fishkin. He started Moz, then he started Sparkterro. It is a mass data market research tool that's very useful for marketers. So if you don't have customers, use searches for and just use your keyword that you sell. So like searches for crypto trading or whatever. But what's even better is if you can go visit the site and I can do sub2.com. And what it's going to do is build an association web of affinity. And affinity is just a fancy word for saying it'll show me like 77% of your sub2 customers also visit biggerpockets.com or something like that.
mm,
However, what you can do and what's smart is to, you can't win them all, but I usually end up just incognito Googling our brand keywords and just seeing what ranks first page, matching that with Sparkterro and seeing if the affinity is high. Because what you want to do in an ideal world is you can let stuff like that happen to you and react and just be like, yeah, like you said, 5K, bro, and you remove this, or like negotiate with some 13-year-old that you just paid a ton of money. And then he's going to go do it again because he's like, whoa, I just made 5K. He's like, maybe I'll just lie again and try to get him to pay me another 5K. So to me, I'm like George Bush or any US president. I'm not going to negotiate with like terrorists, especially like preteens on Reddit. So, or anyone for that matter. I don't care if they're 60. So to me, if you're going to say stuff about our brand that's true, that's fine. I'll send people there to defend it. We'll have like a debate or at least a level-headed argument and maybe even apologize. Sometimes we screw up and we're like, cool, yeah, we screwed that up. Here, we made it right. Here's how. And that's a good look. Like people, that's what
100%.
they're looking for. That's not a
Yeah.
scammer. If someone's like, they didn't refund me, sometimes that happens. Like accountant didn't send it back. So you're like, dang, we dropped the ball. Here's 3,200 just to make it right. And then if that makes them a fan on Reddit, their like favorite platform for life, anytime that you're mentioned, they might chime in with that. Like, hey man, I used to think he was a scam too, but turns out he's just bad at coaching. Like he did pay me 3,200, so I think he's a good guy. Just kind of methods suck for me or whatever. So that's good. That's neutral. What I don't want is a huge, like the worst case is like Redditors. Someone will say something about a guru on Reddit and everyone will just pile in without any sort of evidence. And then
Yep.
it becomes a really bad look. Bigger Pockets was one that was anti-guru for us. Me and Pace both kind of get slighted, especially in the early days when they labeled us with a bunch of people that we were trying to truly be better at. Like Pace also was this person that came on, took a lot of courses, got burned, and then like vowed to make something actually good. So when you
Yeah.
truly are trying to be way better and take it serious, more serious than anyone has in your space, and you get slammed for it, I told him, I was like, every day I had keyword alerts for Bigger Pockets. I would go on there and then I would just, sometimes if it was bad, I would go screenshot the post on Bigger Pockets, throw it in our community. And I would just say, hey guys, I don't think we can let people get away with saying stuff like this with Pace. Can you go and just share your honest opinion? Flood the thing out. Um, and there is one I'm especially proud of. I'll find the thread and send it to you. Thread locked. Moderator accused us all of shilling, accused me of paying everyone. And then I told him I would add him to the community so that you could see that I just had everyone leave their honest opinion. I'm like, bro, no, this is like, yeah. I was like, I would pay him. I'm not against paying him, but I don't have to because the product's that good.
That's
And
one
he
thing
never,
I heard you mention talking to Ryan Clogg is that like you compare yourself to Hormozi, for example, who is private about the companies he works with, and you're completely open and transparent about who you work with, which I think is cool. Like there are a lot of people in the info space who it's almost like a I got you when they make sales. It's like a like oh I'm just an info slinger. But what I
yeah,
think is cool is you're so focused on education. And like it's clear you care about the products you work with.
do it. Well, thank you, man. And sometimes I give Hormozy a hard time. It's just because he's better at me at so many things that I'm like, dang. But like, I might go through the same thing with him too, because he had an exit. I never had that type of like get 40 million in cash from gym launch. So like now he's in a different like social circle and status where he doesn't want to associate with info anymore.
Yeah.
But I can get the and then the biggest company in your portfolio becomes an info brand that kind of looks scammy. I can get not wanting to do that because he's trying to get in rooms, it sounds like, with like billionaires and deca millionaires. He doesn't want that to be the first brand he probably mentions. So from
Yeah.
a framing standpoint, get it. Um, because I don't think he's afraid to like, sell. Certainly not. He told everyone he didn't have anything to sell for 5 years and then just clean the whole room. That's like the greatest magic trick I've ever seen. It was like a David Blaine performance. So
Yeah.
yeah, like that launch to me is pretty special. And yeah, people have already told me they don't think it'll ever be topped, which I always think it does. Like people always top humans are really good at eventually just topping each other. And all it'll take is someone who yeah, pause, yeah. I'll say you can pause me as much as you want. I'll just double down on it. No, I'm kidding, bro. But I'm trying to even think. What did I just say that was caught out of context there?
No,
Um,
humans will always one up each other.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, take that for how you guys will. But let's rephrase. Humans are really good at breaking the 4 minute mile. There's a story that Dean used to tell me, and he would tell it on stage of it took like 30 years for someone to break the 4 minute mile, and then once someone actually got through that threshold, then it just like boom, 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 boom. The floor just kept going down. So
Right.
sometimes it's a mindset issue. In Hormozi, I think people have mindset and limiting belief issues at like weird even numbers. It's like there's a reason why we label ourselves as like 6 figure entrepreneurs, 7 figure, 8 figure, 9 figure. And the jump between 8 and 9 is pretty big, bigger than 7 to 8. And six to
Yeah.
seven is even smaller. So like for him to shatter that ceiling, I think is cool in a way. So I was rooting for it. I was like, no way, is he going for it? I was like, no, he's gonna have to stay on and pitch all night. And then he did. And I was like, holy crap. So
Yeah.
to me, it's just like super admirable. And I think at that point, he's just doing it either for, like I said, his own ego, because he wants to show everyone that it's possible to outperform to such an extent, and probably a bunch of other reasons. So for himself, for others, I think that's super cool. And someone will eventually do it. All it would take is just deeper pockets. Like to me, it's math of like, cool, if he spent 1 million to do 5 million, that's a 5 to 1 ROAS. If he spent 5 million with that same, that's 25. So if he probably just came into it knowing what he had to spend in order to hit 100 million, and he just landed, a few million north of that. So to me, I'm like, dude, it might be you, Braden. You might be doing the next Billy launch with Elon Musk or something. You guys will be selling like Tesla info mastermind. So there's
I mean,
certain
I
people that could
do.
do that.
I do think, I mean, it's not, I agree with the belief thing, like shattering the 4 minute mile. And I also think info is just becoming more mainstream. I think like if you look at the college enrollment rates, it's just like falling off like a cliff. And I think way more people, especially the younger generation, are starting, and like the older people who went down the corporate path and they're like, this shit sucks. I see 18-year-olds making all this money. Like, I want to learn how to invest in real estate. I want to learn day trading. So I think info is becoming way more mainstream, which would help with that bigger numbers in the future.
Dude, which like makes me feel good too. I actually have a question for you, follow up on that. What is their buying temperament though, as far as how they perceive value? Because whenever I go on to, especially WAP, like anything that slants towards what I would say low ticket biz op skews younger, there's different buying behavior that's clearly going on. Like they don't need funnels, they need some sort of context or something that happens. But like, are you noticing that like the buying pattern or the way people flow through quote unquote funnels or paths is changing for your gen?
I think it really depends on the prospect. I think there are different buckets. There are like the Redditors that you mentioned who wanna like they wanna be told that it's a scam. Um, but I've noticed there's like a certain bucket who they just come on and they're pre-sold. Like I think a lot of people kind of like growth operators doing what I'm doing, working with influencers, they like think they're the shit. And I was one of them, I still kind of am, where like you think you're doing all this, but a lot of it is just like the influencers carrying most of the weight.
Yeah,
And I
dude.
think it's just like I think it's
For
just
sure.
the kids want someone who inspires them. Like Brez, for example, who's like relatable
I
but
love Brez.
inspiring. Like he makes
For sure.
content about like him gooning and then he drives a supercar. And like same with
Yeah.
TJR. And like those are like the massive BizOp B2C people who are just like sucking up all of the college kids, all the high school kids, all the like early corporate path people who want to break free. Um,
Dude,
yeah.
that's so fascinating because to me, yeah, that proves a point that I always believe is that this space will never go away. And someone's like, people won't want to learn. I'm like, in what what era of humanity since like the beginning have people not wanted to learn? I was like, people wanted to, they wanted a car instead of a horse. They wanted a wheel instead of walking. Like people wanted to learn and do stuff better. So to me, it just doesn't compute. It's just the mechanics and the framings change because of culture. Like you guys have different trigger events. Like COVID is going to be so shaping and like a shared experience for a certain pocket of, let's call it, 18 to 26 year olds right now who had their lives completely thrown off at a pivotal point. Where I don't even know what I had, September 11th, but that's wasn't super like crazy, changed course of my life. Yeah, like there's just certain things that are trigger events which like then the collective unity of like we think this about the world is pretty powerful, or usually stuff. So I always find enjoyment. I'm like, man, like shit posting is working. Like that never used to work. I was like, that's sick. Yeah. So like flexing on people and not being like apologetic about it works. I was like, that never used to work to the like the boomer generation. That's like a huge turnoff to selling to like 50 to 6 year olds plus. So to me, it's just kind of fun that people buy in a different frame now, and you can
Yeah.
just throw different stuff.
Yeah. No, education's never going away. Like Jeff Bezos, he bought leadership coaching. Like everyone's
Yep.
investing in info. Um,
Right. And he bought the
to,
Washington Post because he didn't want to be an influencer. He was like, do I want to do the Hormozi path and make real content for 5 years, or do I just want to buy the Washington Post? And then, yeah, I basically run incognito ads, I'm sure, underneath the surface. So
Actually didn't
I hope
even
to
know
get to
that.
his level. Yeah, he
Yeah.
did. Like that's and like Elon bought Twitter. Like when you get to a level where you can use extreme capital leverage, you're like, well, shoot, I'm not gonna be a guru content like, influencer. Elon's kind of a hybrid where he's like a Twitter guru, but then also just bought Twitter. So
Yeah.
he's in a different league altogether. But yeah, I imagine Jeff Bezos like, okay, I'm not gonna look like some 18-year-old kid making content competing with him. There's no way an 18-year-old kid can buy a whole newspaper like I can. So to me, that would be the ultimate definition of flexing if I ever get to the point where I'm like, okay, what publication or social media network should I buy?
Dude,
That's a good position to be in.
you kind of, I don't know if anyone's ever told you this, but you give off like Mr. Beast aura. I don't know, like you have a similar like obsession.
7 times.
Really? Okay,
Yeah, I've been counting. People think I look like him from the side sometimes,
a little
which
bit.
is
You like kind of look
you were the
like
first
him, like
person.
kind of the eyes and the mouth are similar, but also just your aura, like your obsession with the game, similar.
Damn, if anyone watching this can link me and Mr. Beast up, I think we would actually get along really well. Yeah, probably both obsessive about the craft. I can see that. The fact he's willing to like bury himself alive for 7 days, I'm like, heck yeah. I was like, this
Yeah,
guy doesn't love video. He just likes going to lengths that no one's ever done before. So I think
yeah.
like he would be extremely fun to go deep and publish. I don't know if he ever goes. I know he's done like sort of kind of put his foot in and taught at like I don't know like Harvard or something and done some sort of teaching. But if he wanted to like truly take over the info industry, he could dominate. It'd be
I heard
so
a
much
little
fun with
something
him.
about Mr. Beast and WAP. It's not like public
Interesting.
yet, but I
Yo,
heard some birdies talking about that, so we'll see.
Ari Hunter and Cam, you guys got to fill me in before so you can get me involved. I just want to sit in those rooms. I'll just be silent in the corner until you guys need me. So, but yeah, man, there's so many stars out there that I would love to work with, and if people understood the stuff that we can do, I feel like people have this perception and a discount a certain way of going about info. And yeah, like Mr. Beast, it makes sense. You want to legitimize yourself maybe, and you go to Harvard, but that's not a great way to monetize. Harvard's not gonna scale to 600K a month like you did. Um, they're not gonna be like, "Yo, what's the ROAS this week?" They're gonna be like, "What's the overall endowment of Harvard, and did you protect our reputation and values?" So to me, it's just like I don't think that's what he wants either. So it's him not knowing, and if someone can just usually get through to someone for the first time, um, which was even my experience with Dan Bilzerian. I was like, we can do this your way and it can work. I was like, just look at Andrew Tate. Like he broke a lot of belief patterns I had. I was like, dang, you can truly just be whoever you want to be. And if you lean into it hard enough, then it can work. Where people get in this limbo land is thinking they have to be someone else. And that works too. But if you don't want to, you don't have to.
Who are some of the other big names you've worked with? I believe you said what's the FBI agent called again?
Chris Voss.
Chris Voss, yeah. You worked with
He,
him,
dude,
correct?
he's the absolute man. Yeah, I don't have equity unfortunately in his brand. I would have loved to met him earlier in life,
Hmm.
but we do consulting for his team still on community. So if you guys, and that's another CTA, if you guys want like the coolest free community to be in, the Black Swan community, I helped him build it in Circle. It's still going on and growing every week. All they talk about is how to negotiate and get whatever you want in life. And like his framing is just so unique, no oriented questions. And before he was a hostage negotiator, he talked people off the ledge as a suicide hotline um, phone. So like when you think about people are like, yeah, man, I'm a good closer. I was a setter for a high ticket product. I'm like, try being suicide hotline where the person dies unless you close them. and then tried
Yeah.
to negotiate hostage. So he, to me, is an expert's expert at sales negotiation. Tom Bilyeu, other big name that sometimes people know, built Quest Nutrition into a $1 billion company. Um, he made me nervous like first time. There's a certain level of person I've worked with, like Bilzerian, Bilyeu, that are so sharp when you meet them. I'm used to walking into rooms and like I was excited for this call, but I wasn't like nervous to like show off. With Tom, he's so like laser sharp. And he's
Yeah.
like, cool, what's the agenda for today? And I was like, oh, first hour we're gonna do this. He's like, hour. He's like 15-minute intervals. And I was like, shoot, I was not prepared for that. So
He's a
I
hard
was like,
ass, like with his team.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
which I loved. Like to me, it was just like a challenge in the moment to try to step up. And to me, like I don't know what it looks like because I haven't had proximity to billionaires in my life, or like at least 500 millionaires after taxes, whatever you paid in taxes.
Yeah.
But yeah, right, like that's a level above the typical infopreneur, and I'm like, dang, makes sense. I was like, I might steal that from him from time to time. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
pretty intense for every meeting. Like, yo, Braden, what are we going to achieve in the next 15 minutes? And I was like, okay, chunk the hour goal into 15-minute milestones. So I was like doing it in my head. I'm like, okay, 15 here. So I'm doing it on the fly. And I heard, not from him directly, that he was impressed at the end of the day when we first met. And I did it for 3 hours. But I was like, dang,
That's a good
yeah,
feeling.
like that. Yeah, that was exhausting, like a challenge
Mhm.
to try to, and it gave me a new perspective on, I can see why this guy won. He was like disciplined, faster, intense. And that's not the only way to win, but and Bilzerian's different. Bilzerian's, he wins by being so completely unapologetic. I've never seen anyone have the ability to just not care at all what people think of him and even kind of enjoy it.
So
He
he's
enjoys
that
when
way in person too, huh?
yeah, dude. Let me send you the Bilzerian pitch deck that I made for him because I had a really hard time figuring out how we were going to frame him and make him basically get him to show his soft side because I now am very inspired by him. I think his book is amazing. I think like if people knew what he did to write his book, they would be impressed. And he likes coming off like it was easy. He likes people thinking that he had life handed to him, he said in the book, and then just doesn't care to even prove it. And to me, that's like a certain type of swag that I aspire to. So yeah, he impressed me in very different ways. And he was
Have
actually
you?
oddly passionate about a certain group of ugly men that he once felt like he was a part of and he couldn't get women, so he overcompensated. But yeah, it was good. I did like a bunch of background checks because I had to sell him to our team. I was like, good news, guys, Dan Bilzerian. I looked into all the like sexual like harassment allegations. I ran him through like Snopes fact checker because I didn't want to have to, that's the worst. It's like if you're trying to convince your team to work for someone who's actually a bad person and should be in jail. So to me,
Yeah.
that was my first thought was, okay, defend Dan and make sure he's actually a good person. And to me, I came to the conclusion that I liked him a lot. So for what it's worth, I think the positioning deck is some of my best work because it was. I'm like, dang, how am I going to sell this to America after what they've seen of his content?
Yeah. Have you noticed, because you work with a lot of big people, have you noticed that they're very different behind the scenes when you know them on a personal level versus how they portray themselves? Or
Case by case basis, and it's usually like trauma or fear like induced. I try to
Mhm.
get people to let their guard down with me, and if I can't get it in a certain amount of time, they're probably not my type of person to work with. Because then my guard goes up. If someone's guard doesn't go down, because mine's always down when I walk into a room, and if I see them being secretive, now my guards start to go back up, and I don't like that. So to me, it's
Yeah.
exhausting to play that game of like I have to impress you all the time. I'm like, we're business partners, we can talk like so long as we align on where we want to go. um I mean, we're going to make mistakes, we're probably going to get into some conflicts, but it's going to be a lot of fun if you actually are honest, where it's not fun at all when you just feel like you're playing games with your biz partner. And
Yeah.
like, yeah, so I don't do that. In the beginning I did though. I took a lot of abuse. I would
Yeah.
say I was just like, man, I want to make this person happy, but he doesn't seem to like me much. Like, should I
No,
continue to prove my worth or whatever? Yeah, just
that's
bad
definitely how
mindset stuff.
the game goes though. You mentioned also that you're like super flexible with your partnership terms in ways you probably shouldn't, but I feel like getting scrappy like that just to get those first case studies and get off the ground is helpful.
Very.
But also it is interesting. We're not like the people we work with, they're not clients, they're partners. And it is
Yep.
a very, you need to be very emotionally in tune with them. And if there is, it might sound like foo-foo to talk about this, but if they have trauma, that can be very hard to work with. Like some people have very, um, just like
Yep.
shitty things that happen in their lives, and then that portrays itself in the relationship. Like one of the first partners I ever launched with, we did this is like my first like semi big launch. At least for myself at the time, we did 50K cash collected in 5 days, and we were pacing like 300K in that month. And
Bro, good job.
I dropped him after 5 days, and everyone called me crazy, but he had like a lot. Basically, his mother died when he was in, or both his parents died when he was in high school. He had one of his best friends betray him, and then that clearly displayed itself in the partnership. And there were trust issues, this and that. So I think it
Hmm.
is, and I noticed that with you, right when I hop on the call, you're a very like calming person to be around. Like I was a little nervous hopping
Dude,
on,
thank
and then
you.
I hop on, and I'm like, okay, cool. I can just
Aw.
like breathe and be myself. So
I
yeah.
always love when I make people nervous because yeah, to me I'm just like that's exactly what I'm not trying to exude. And it's a big value in my system too. And maybe that's wise. I was raised it was important to be humble about your accomplishments. And I truly don't think that what I've done is anything special other than me knowing what I wanted, being in the right place at the right time, and then thankfully learning some lessons faster than other people learned. And whatever reason, it ended up like this. So I'm just super thankful, and I try to pass it back anytime I can. Also, I just like we've talked about before, this life's too short to kind of just come on and posture and
Yeah.
it's also really weird if I come on and just like flexing on random people I don't know. To me, it just doesn't make sense at all. Like I don't know what I'm trying to prove, or like I didn't do a ton of research as to who your audience is. I could take a guess, and I probably should have. If this was like me and you were working together, I would have done a way more audience research.
Yeah.
Sparkterro, I would have tried to identify desires, motivations, fears. So I guess it just comes down to me just truly caring, and I want people to open up. And I agree, like I want to know about their trauma to know what they learned from it. And if they didn't learn anything from it, or it's like a rationalization, or like, yeah, man, it turns out just like everyone's evil. And I'm like, ooh, okay, yellow flag, not a red flag, but that's not great. So if we
Right.
can't get through that, then we don't have like value alignment, for instance, because I don't believe that humans are inherently evil. So to me, I'm always trying to find, I'm like, I just need one value to make the relationship work. But ideally, like the alignment me and Josiah have is, I would say we agree on all four of our core values, both me and him. I can get behind him, he can get behind him. We wrote them together. When I wrote Agexas, we transposed them as the new reach values too. So they initially mirrored, and then as your org grows, they become something different because the collective company defines them, which I think is amazing. And I'm that to me is like super cool. I love when there's like an internal identity that's formed around the vision of an entrepreneur. And it can be either you like or the expert, but when it's both of you and you guys are like, this is who we what I would say agree on brand convictions. This is who we fight for. This is who we champion. This is who we like. This is who we don't. And like we're not going to apologize for. It's just the way we are. That's a really fun company to be in, and the
Yeah.
vibe can be great. So,
What are your values?
ooh, I'm glad you asked. They're all named after Drake songs. If people go to our website,
Yeah, I
and
saw it. It
this,
said Drake enthusiast. Your bio, I think.
yeah, bro, yeah, exactly. And I usually disclaim at this point that people will say like Kendrick in the comments. I'm like, yeah, no, I know. I was there every night. It was like my Super Bowl because I love Kendrick too. They're my two favorites. So to me, I was like, I've been waiting for forever for this to happen. So the reason, this has a whole doc if you guys want to see. And if there's maybe anything I could impart upon you guys if you're running a company, I went for a year without defining any core values for a Gexa. And what happens is people just then assume you're only after money because you're like, cool, we set a goal, we're trying to hit a goal. What do you guys stand for? Nothing but making money. And I was like, wait, I don't even care about making money. I just set a goal because that's what I was told to do. And it's good leadership. So to me, I'm like, I just need to do some soul searching and figure out what I actually do. Because to me, I usually, me and Josiah bucket into three different types of entrepreneurs. Is normally you have a vision, let's call it external good and its impact focus, where you're like, the goal of this company is to make enough money so that I can change the world and like feed all the starving children. To me, I'm like, I was never that person. I never really cared about I don't care about, legacy impacting the whole world, some sort of greater good. I care a lot about my internal environment as opposed to external. To me, I'm like, people in Africa, yeah, they deserve a great life too, but out of sight, out of mind, I'm just going to take care of the people in my company, right? That means more to me. So I would rather invest my money, time, resources into developing people here, to donate to local causes if I have the choice, or anything else. So I'm very internal vision focused. Like if you told me like what on your deathbed would you rather have 40 dope brands or a company of people that all like were happy to work with you and cite you as someone that was influential, I choose the latter for sure. So, but everyone's different. And then there's this middle group, which is just target focused, which I usually pair well with because they're the ones that drive the business towards target. To me, I'm just like, cool, I like to improve. And as long as we have the best team, I know we're going to get there. So I'll be patient. But even like Josiah, he'll get me in the best way to move faster towards a target, knowing that he usually goes from target to wanting to do external good in the world. So we've made a ton of money in New Reach, but we also shout out, if you guys know the Two Heart Award, we're the last winner of the Two Heart Award, and it's the rarest award given out at ClickFunnels. I think us
I'm
and
actually not even familiar with that one.
yeah, it's because it's for donating over $1 million to charity. So like
Hmm.
it's infopreneurs are usually not good at charity. Like I didn't
Yeah.
historically. I told Josiah, I'm like, is this for tax purposes or like why are we doing it then? And then what I found though is like we do mission trips. Like he's a big believer in deploying money and then going and actually seeing it as a company. So like our company went to Pakistan. Like we rescued people out of sex slavery, like even not just sex slavery, but slavery in general, because in poor countries, I've come to learn that the parents can't afford to like put food on their table. They'll sacrifice their kid. They'll sacrifice limbs of their kid. They'll
Oh,
do a bunch of stuff that like he is
yeah.
very, very such a great heart and has gotten me to and the whole entire company. Like I always tell him like, cool, I like to help the company make more money so just I can do more good in the world. And I take a lot of enjoyment helping facilitate that because to me, I'm passionate about certain causes, but they're mainly education. So
So
yeah, that's my whole thing.
what type of entrepreneur would you say you are though? You said there are a couple different buckets.
The first one is it's not good that came to mind. I was gonna say a bad one. That's a negative label. I need to reframe that. Tony Robbins would not like that. That was my first association. So he would be like, no, you say you're a good entrepreneur and say it 5 times. So I will. I think that I am a different entrepreneur than maybe the more common type. I think I'm probably the third most common archetype. I'm not really the creator visionary. I'm not an integrator either, like the second banana COO type. I like to architect and then push, normally like captain or architect. So like I bet we have some of the same similar strengths or just like energizers of just like I like it when I can come in and know everything and be like, guys, this is how it goes. If you just execute to this plan and I will like just trust me here, we will make money. I genuinely believe that like any problem in this type of business I can solve. So that to me is makes me a good co-founder, I think, but not a great solo founder.
Interesting.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
like the times I've been a solo founder, I kind of just like at some point I'm just like not super vision oriented, and if I don't have a good team, I'm just like, all right, I'm just kind of coasting. That's what I find, and I'm just doing it. But I prefer to work for people, to be honest.
really? Hmm.
Yeah, I like being like I'm in the office today. I like being in an office. I'm odd like that. So an entrepreneur just I enjoy
But
being
you
here. It's
said
my
working
yeah.
for people.
Hmm.
That's like you said you like working for people. That I feel like that's a
I
super unique character trait as an entrepreneur. Like I love being in the office. Three of my team members just moved out here and we're always like working the co-working space together. It's a blast. But I can never imagine myself working for someone else.
ooh. What's your last name, Braden?
Barkmeyer.
Barkme.
Meier.
Did you see the Whitebridge report? I think Amy sent it to me private. I like when she puts it in the
Hmm.
calendar invite though. So I usually ask for, I didn't read yours. Let's see where it's at. But there's this tool where we do AI background check and it scans for values and skews and a bunch of other stuff about it. So I know like who I'm talking to going into it. So that way, like if I wanted to, I would just study it, but it feels in like when I read it, then I like want to I'm like too good at bonding with people like really quick. I'll be like, bro, you know what I was doing? Trading Pokemon cards last night. You're like, holy crap, I love Pokemon too. So then it just feels like I'm marketing to you. So sometimes I skip it out, but here is the screen share. You guys should all use this if you're into marketing and work with creators. This is a huge hack to hitting the things they care about really quickly. Is before every meeting podcast, normally, look at my search history here. You'll see a bunch of, oh, maybe you're not in here. Oh, yeah, you are. We ran you. Let's see how accurate this is. This is one of my favorite. 1920 now. But dude, good for you. You were
Not have
so
not sold 39 mil online.
dude, shout out. Well, I'll make the claim so you don't have to. The FTC can come to me. Um, Braden is a 19-year-old entrepreneur who's done 39 million. Okay, cool. But like, dude, so much further along than most people your age. So shout out. Curious, like, what do you feel like you're ahead of your peers right now, or do you feel like you're right where you need to be?
I'm like constantly insecure all the time about never being enough. So, yeah. I mean, I
Yeah,
acknowledge the fact that like comparatively to most people my age, I've achieved more materially, but like I never feel like I've
yeah.
done enough.
Is that rooted in you watching your parents fail in some sort of way to provide or not be enough for yourself, or is it rooted in something else?
I think it's rooted in having an older brother who like always kind of shit on me.
Yep, that would make sense. I didn't have an older brother, so different causes, but we're a lot alike, just different kind of environment triggers. So
Yeah.
yeah, little brother syndrome. I always apologize to my brother now too, because I always used to tell him like you had it easy, like coming after me. All my teachers loved me, so you had it easy. When in fact, like he was smarter than me and better at sports and a bunch of other stuff. So I should have just told him that if I was more mature at the time. So sorry you had to go through that, but it made
I'm
you, if
very
it doesn't break
blessed.
you, yeah.
I'm very, 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 very blessed to have like had that.
Did you guys repair the relationship, or is it better than where it was when you guys were younger teens?
Um, Honestly, entrepreneurship like drove it apart more because I was always like pretty submissive, and then I started asserting myself maybe like 3 years ago. It's funny, I told when I was 18, I told my brother I was gonna be a millionaire by 25, and he just like he's like, "You're so delusional, da da da." And like after that moment, I was like, "All right, like I pretty much just like stopped talking to him for a few years." Um,
Dang, dude. Yeah.
yeah.
So like, was it motivating though, or was it actually like it set you back? Do you
It was
think
motivating. Like
it was
I love
motivating?
them,
Me too.
but I just needed that that voice out of my head for a little bit until I became
Dude,
more solid in myself.
dude, when you get to the point where you're like, I'm gonna go full in guru, because you, I can tell you're good enough to where people are gonna want to learn stuff from you now and in the future. That'll be the one thing you can lean into. Like now, the imposter syndrome stuff that other people that I work with deal with, I just like I'm like I feed off. I'm like, give me the hate, like throw the hate in the comments. I was like, we're gonna hit new revenue goals. You guys
Yeah,
keep hating on me.
I saw a tweet you posted. It's like I'm not big enough. Yeah, I don't get enough hate or something.
Dude, yeah, and that was shout out to Max. I will always give the ghostwriter credit because he is, dude, I think like 20 years old, out of Queens, New York, and he told me he didn't know anything about marketing, but I think he lied. Like he's naturally good at tapping into that same sort of energy that he just sees me on the calls. He wrote that, I was
Yeah.
like, bro, I would never write that because it just seems like I'm trying to prove things to like no one the like Twitter sphere, which I don't care about, but that is like what goes on in my head. I don't know who I'm talking to, but it's I guess myself, trying to, prove something. So, dude, yeah, like to me it's you could call it negative energy, but if you understand it and you know where it roots from and it's just like a tactic that you go to occasionally, um, I always find that people like us probably are you'll start to know and use psychology like on yourself and the target market that you work with. So you're like, okay, cool. I shouldn't lean into negativity. I should probably think positive, but we'll make more money if I use this as a slight. So I'm gonna lean into it. Especially like Hormozi. I love when he tells people he's like, I measure people's self-worth by how much money they make. So like sorry guys, like if you don't make 100 million, I just don't think you're as cool or as valuable as you. I'm like, damn, that's dope. I was like, I'm gonna Photoshop my bank account next time we talk so I can show you and just like get a reaction. Like, yo, bro,
Yeah.
I don't know how I did it because like you're so much smarter than me, but somehow I ended up with 1 billion in Bitcoin, or it was something that probably would, I would shake my fist at the equivalent, much like a media buyer who gets better at me for and like on their first day. I'm like, that hurts. Should be harder.
I
Yep.
love when
So,
people are
dude.
completely transparent like that. Like Jeremy Haynes talks about at his mastermind, he always shits on people who virtue signal. He's like, I just want to get in his southern accent. He's like, I want to get completely fucking rich. And
Yeah.
he said he measures like when he goes to bed at night, which like for me personally, I'd never do this. Like I don't think this would be positive motivation for myself, but if it works for him, that's awesome. He measures his self-worth directly on when he dies, how much money does his family get from his life insurance policy,
Oh,
which I
that's
thought
super
was
cool.
super unique, like super
That is
interesting.
really unique. Dude,
Yeah.
Jeremy, I'm gonna hit you up. We'll commit insurance fraud. We'll max that policy out, bro. For you. We'll fake your own death and you can do it twice. So, dude, that's super cool. Yeah, when people actually say what's in it for them, I usually see it as a sign of I know what my dark side is and I'm just letting everyone know so that you guys don't let me go fully down that path. That's kind of how I view it. Whenever I say that, I'm like, cool, you guys just call me out if it ever gets too bad. And that's usually what I see with people like that because that's cool. He wants to, like, that's, I don't know, rooted in our DNA somewhere in our Darwinian survival. Is like, he's like, I'm going to provide generational wealth for my family. To me, I'm like, I will never meet my great 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 grandkids. Great luck. This world will be a lot different.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. So I like to maximize while I'm here. But it's interesting. He looks at night. Sam Evans would look every day in the morning in bed. First thing he did when he woke up. So people like that end up becoming really rich, though. When you look at that's your first thing is like look at your bank account in bed instead of scroll TikTok. You're built different.
Yeah.
This is not normal
What
behavior.
what would you say your biggest motivation is and like biggest I guess long-term vision? Because you mentioned like I don't feel like I've done that much, which is funny. You're ripping like 100 mil a year.
Yeah.
But for you saying you want to be the Agora of the info product space,
Hmm.
is that kind of just like Hormozi mentions, like, oh, I want to be a billionaire, but is that like the real thing, or do you have like a deeper,
Dude,
um,
there's always a deeper. Anyone
yeah.
like have you ever done 7 whys with anyone you work with? I just did it last call.
Mhm. Seven whys?
Okay. Yeah, so I'll do an example with you. Dean Graziosi taught me. It's in I sold a bunch of copies of his book Millionaire Success Habits, and it's like first or second chapter, and it was a game-changing exercise. So the whole thing is you just ask why 7 times until you really root down. And sometimes people don't want to give it to you, so you got to work for it. But the more honest that you are, the quicker it goes. So I'll be like, Braden, why is it so important that you prove to people that you're competent and that you're capable? And you would say, because my brother had blah, blah, blah. And like when we were teens and it formed me. And I'm like, okay, so like, why though? Like, why did that really feel, take me back to that moment? Why? Like, what did you feel when he said that you'll never be a millionaire or scoffed at that idea? What did you like? What emotion?
I hated the feeling of being powerless. That was always like the number one thing.
Do and why is it important to you, or why is it important to you to never feel like that again?
Because I hate feeling weak. I hate feeling powerless. And I want to have direct influence on the world around me. Because if I don't, it's painful. Not knowing how the world works, not being able to materialize the things I want.
Why is what you chose to do in your career helping make people feel less powerful, or is it? Do you feel like that's actually what you're helping? Do you
Helping
feel
make
like that you
people feel less powerful.
or sorry, the opposite. So like, do you feel that like that you're not enough, that you are actually powerless to do it yourself, so you had to work with someone who had more social influence so you could amplify that message?
I mean, To be fair, I accidentally got into this business model, but that's actually really interesting. And I
Okay.
think there's some
Why,
truth to that.
why do you think you accidentally stumbled into this business model? What were you doing before?
Um, I was gonna, I didn't really have a business at the time, but like quote unquote paid ads for real estate agents. And then I pulled up to a webinar that I thought it was like become a high ticket creator and like build a personal brand to attract clients for your agency. And then I was on a college webinar at the same time when I bought that Webby, or I bought
Hmm.
the offer without knowing what it was, and I was like, what the fuck is a growth operator? And then I was like, all right, like I guess I'll try it out.
Okay. So that sounds kind of like why accidental, and what I was talking about earlier is that maybe some marketer played some string and it got you to consider that. So is there any point, do you remember anything about that presentation? Like why that presentation got you to change the course of your life? Because you could have went in any direction. Like you're clearly very smart and good at things.
I think it was more so before the presentation. I just looked up to the dude. He was 19, living in high rise. He had freedom, dropped out of college. And those are all things I want for myself.
Why is freedom so important, and what is the tie between, is freedom the antidote to you feeling powerless?
Yeah, I think I've always been a little bit, uh, from a young age, I've never enjoyed doing the same things as other people, and I've hated feeling like somewhat oppressed. Like someone tells me when I can eat lunch, someone tells me what I have to do. Um, so that's why
You don't like
freedom's
to be controlled, and when people
yeah.
try to control you, it triggers this sense of you're trying to control my power. I don't want to let you do that.
Yeah.
And think back to that moment. Can you think of a specific moment where someone stepped over a line and you snapped, and they were trying to, without meaning to, take away your power, and you felt like you were powerless? Cool. And we don't have to go there, because that's like what Seven Wise does, is get you to, if I do it right, like a really emotional break point where there's, dude, because like I'm feeling now like true empathy with you. I'm like, dang, uh, like I get it now. Like Braden, like if, and I'm like, why did that event? You don't have to tell me the specifics, but why did that event, after it happened, you said, I will never feel like that again. I promised to myself I'll never feel like that. Did that happen, and why?
It's just extremely painful.
Right.
Um, just like a complete violation of my worth as a human.
Yep. And we're pretty much there. That was like 6 or 7. So to like, to me, it's one of the most powerful things you can do with someone, to truly try to get empathy. Um, because I generally believe that all top performers have a thing. Some more trauma related, like we were talking about, some to be overcome, but I think it's super cool. And I'll end this by saying stuff that's like, I hate, it's going to sound cheesy, but I actually really mean it. Is like, bro, you are competent, you are enough, and no one will ever be able to take away that power now that you have it. And if someone does infringe upon it, you're going to figure out a way to get it back. So shout out to that experience for shaping you. Yeah. Um, Tony Robbins would do that way better, but that's my,
It's
his
also
version
easy
of it is,
words.
yeah, I think I actually know, like his typical laser question on parents. When I went, I was really trying to figure out how he skipped 7 whys and just went right to someone's trauma. And he would use heuristics like, whose love did you crave more as a kid, your mother's or your father's? And you would probably say, I'm guessing ambivalent, or they're somewhat equal, if I had to
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, pretty equal, yeah.
Interesting, huh? So like,
Hmm.
to me, there's so much. I think I had Enneagram up there. I'm not sure if I did, but there is so much theory in Enneagram that helps me on a day-to-day basis understand people. Because not everyone, it sounds like we're both Enneagram fives, by the way. I don't know if you've ever taken that test, but the desire to feel confident, and goes back to my desire. And I want to be a master at what I do, because I feel at my worst, if I do 7 Ys and I root back, I feel like physically unsafe in the environment if I don't know enough, and like I'll wallflower and I'll be like, okay, I just came into something I don't understand. Everyone else seems like they know what they're doing. I don't. I overthink things, and it like roots back to competence or mastery or some desire of being incapable. And at some point in my life, I can think of multiple examples, but not like one, you know, clear, clean hero story. So for me, I'm like, I thank my parents that I got protected from, I had a great childhood. Like, I got protected. My mom was a teacher. She instilled a lot of good stuff in me, dad too. So I thank my family, but I definitely everyone has those moments and challenges. Like, so anytime people are like, he's just a trust fund kid, I'm like, well, I bet that was hard to grow up with, of just thinking that everything was handed to you and that you can't do anything for yourself and everyone's morally superior to you and you just like lucked out. So I, and I think you do too. You probably have an ability to be very forgiving and understanding at your best. Um, and when people like go over a line, you're like, okay, now I'm in control.
Yeah.
And yep. So yeah. And that can be really fun at the moment. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna prove something to myself and to you and to everyone else. And it's like, okay, shoot, man, it's not what I was trying to do. I was just trying to tell you you should go to college. I'm like, not going to college, or whatever it is, right? So I'm
Yes.
like, if you say it one more time, then it's gonna be a problem, or whatever your version of that is. Like, I have my triggers for that, and even with my wife, like, we just talked about this maybe a couple weeks ago. Um, and I've learned to phrase it. I'm like, I know you're not trying to, but it sounds like you're trying to. I was like, that didn't sound like a recommendation. It sounded like you were telling me what to do. And I was like, I was like, just know. I was like, I know that's not your intention, but the word choice. I was like, I just, feel like you're trying to control.
And is she
And then we
receptive
talk it
when you
out
say that?
now. But at first, like when we ran into that, I didn't know why I was getting triggered. And that's why psychology is such a huge thing for me, is because when I took Enneagram for the first time, I was like, holy crap, that's why I do pretty much everything I do, right or wrong. I was like, this is so useful. So to me, there is I always do heat checks. Let's see if this one will be really fun. Enneagram 5 with 5.
What's your Myers Briggs personality?
INTP.
TP. Which one is that again?
The archetype in Myers Briggs speak would be, or like 16 personality speak, I think, is the logician. Um, but
Logician.
basically,
Okay.
yeah. Myers Briggs, I always tell people, is like good for memes. But what it was actually developed and why the letters are in the order that they are, it's because of your cognitive functions and your preference on how to attack life and solve problems. So INTPs generally, if Carl Jung has, there's like 8 different heuristics that you can use to solve a problem, and we as humans chain them together. So INTPs typically like to, if I have to solve a difficult problem, index, research a ton of different stuff, because the more stuff I index, I spot patterns between things that people can't see. So if you let me read enough books, I'm just like, whoa, borrow this tactic, apply it to info. I'm like, went to church and saw like the pastor like hand out the offering bucket. I'm like, upsell ascension path. So like that's my how my creativity plays. So knowing what your Myers Briggs is allows you to be, I think, find your like flow state of how you operate best in business and in life.
I found it really
Um,
helpful.
what are you?
I I'm a EN or ENTJ,
Dang. Okay. So I wasn't
the commander. Um,
interesting. I
and
wonder
I
if,
used
dude, if that's a false flag. Because maybe not though. It's rare though. You're a rare ENTJ that do you want to be in control? That's the difference. Is normally ENTJs want to be in control. It's like, no, I'm in control always. Where you kind of give me the vibe where you're like, I will go there if I need to, but I don't need to be in control all the time, like a commander.
yeah, it's more so that I like being not in control, but then when things are going in a way that like I I personally deem is not the best, then I'll like step in and control things.
Dude,
Um,
healthy ENTJ. Do you like Hormozi? I peg Hormozi as INTJ or ENTJ almost certainly. Um,
mhm.
to me, he's like a commander's commander for sure.
I think you know what's interesting. I used to be an ENFJ, which is the protagonist, and then
Okay.
over the past 2 years, I turned into an ENTJ. And so I think
Mm.
entrepreneurship made me more of that. And also, I've listened to 750 of Hormozi's podcast episodes. So I've, like,
Yeah,
they
you could
they could
be
have
right.
definitely impacted it.
There
Um,
is some of that. Like people mistype in Myers-Briggs more so than other tests because of
mhm.
like humans can actually use like I said, there's eight different kind of cognitions. ENTJs usually lead with disagreeing or extroverted thinking, and that's why I said I wouldn't have pegged you as ENTJ because normally ENTJs would have maybe interrupted me mid sentence a few times and be like, "Oh, really? Like that's not what worked with me," and like challenge an assertion or assumption I made. You haven't really challenged anything or like even hinted or alluded to that I might be like wrong, lying about anything, and that's normally the thing I pick up on. But again, like yeah, so Myers-Briggs is uh I don't know why, but 16 personalities like will string along these words. So you can flip these cognitive functions and I think Carl Jung, you could read about it, but he didn't believe that we were fully developed like in our brains, especially males, we develop later. So like once you
Yeah.
tell me you test as ENTJ and you're like 28, 29, then I'll be like, okay, it's probably pretty cemented. But you're still figuring out certain cog functions and developing them. Trying to think of one for me. Extroverted feeling for me came later of just like the talent of to feel empathy or like feel the emotions of the room. I didn't really used to have that. I just like wouldn't get people. I'd be like, I don't get why you're this way, and like it's just confusing to me. So I'll just walk away and go play with someone else. So yeah, for what it's worth, I find that fascinating for flow. But I could yeah, I would have mistyped. I have a hard time. You're very I would say sent. I was gonna say INFP, but I don't know for sure. You're a tough type, I would say. When you're asking questions and I'm not asking enough, I need to ask more. Yeah. But I'll send you do you don't have to do it now, but send me your phone number if you ever care about this stuff or want to go deeper on it. I will go deeper, but normally I just weird people out. Most normal people, I'm like, hey, I make my wife take personality tests. We look at each other's values, we look at each other's strengths. It helps me. She's way more empathic than me, so she doesn't need it as much. She like senses feelings better. But for me, I had a really hard time understanding like, are they mad at me or they not? It's like not quite full blown autism, but sometimes people accuse me of such. So I work really hard to try to understand people.
I get that. I had some
Mm,
of that as a kid where people sometimes I'd be like super good at understanding emotions. I know like I'm like a sponge just like my mom. I walk in a room and I feel what everyone else is feeling. Other times I'll be
Fe.
like so autistic and I'll like make my mom cry and I won't even know like what I said because I'm just so like blunt. I'll just say exactly what I'm thinking and then people either really appreciate the honesty or they'll just be like, "Wow, you're a fucking asshole." Um,
Cool. So what you just described is FE and TE. And TE is what ENTJs lead with. So that is possible. Then I would say an
hmm.
FE. Um, I think you said ENFP or ENFJ.
I was an ENFJ, now I'm an ENTJ.
Yep, I think ENFJs lead with FE, and that's yeah, it's super fascinating. It's hard for me to remember. There's a way to, but yeah, that's it. So does this hit more than the ENTJ? And normally, like you would know the first two. The like three and four sometimes don't show up, but almost every human knows like their first and second thing that they do when they sense something.
Yeah, it definitely
Cool.
resonates.
Okay, so let's try ENTJ now. And this is, guys, this is how Myers-Briggs should usually be like type 4. When you take a personality test, there's so much like self-selection bias and that goes into it. So I try not to. But this is what you were also explaining. You're just a really nice ENTJ if you are ENTJ.
I'm like such a blend. Sometimes I'll be extremely logical, like an ENTJ, but then other times I'll make decisions completely off of gut instinct.
How do you define gut instinct? Because gut instinct, ENTJs would say, is this NI. That's usually what they're saying is
Mm.
I check down to my NI. So I come in and I'm like, I basically maybe cause conflict, maybe get to an efficient point faster. Basically, use conflict as a tool for efficiency, and then I use my gut to assess what I see.
Yeah, that aligns a lot actually. I
Dude,
love
yeah,
I love like arguing with people and getting all the ideas out and then sitting with myself and like feeling those different ideas.
Got it. So like people that have NI, like I don't. INTPs, that's why usually we would work well together. ENTJ INTPs because I'm usually oblivious, and if I'm winning the call and someone doesn't like me, I don't if I'm the one talking, I can't figure out why because I haven't been paying attention to them. Where usually ENTJs and INTJs just have like what I would consider like the chess gaze of just like, I saw this tell and that means this, and I know where to go next, like where to skate. Like the Gretzky quote where he's like, I always knew like wherever the puck's going, you just skate there, right? Where it's going to be. That's usually the thing that I don't have. My intuition works different. So if that, it sounds like you probably are closer to ENTJ. You're
That
just, yeah, you come
helps
in.
so much. Like in every conversation, I'm very good at just like knowing exactly what the other person's thinking and then like moving the conversation that way.
Sweet. So what I normally tell people is then um, read books and biographies of like the most successful ENTJ entrepreneurs, of which there's many. Like ENTJ, thankfully for you, is one of the most likely types to succeed as a business owner, just because of disposition. Because it's efficient, they get to the root problem faster by using conflict up front, and then they usually make good chess decisions. Um, have you ever seen Queen's Gambit on Netflix?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
Did
banger.
you resonate with that? Like that's NTJ behavior for sure. INTJ,
Mhm.
ENTJ, where she was just like doing speed chess. Like you can play speed
Mhm.
chess at your best. I can't. I'm really good at slow chess. When I slow the game down, almost impossible to beat. Someone puts a timer on me, takes my advantage away.
What would you say are
Yeah.
some of your favorite biographies? Or what are your favorite
Ooh.
biographies from logicians? And then what are your favorite from commanders?
Bro, I love that question. I've also that's such a good specific one for me. My favorite one for INTPs, we don't have a lot of successful entrepreneurs to look at. But then we got Elon Musk, who I very much believe to be INTP. That guy, like, he reminds me of if I were to get too much money and just stop caring. He's just like posting stuff, whatever he wants on Twitter, clearly like making his stock price go down by saying like 420. It just remind like I see myself and I'm like, oh, he's just trying to show everyone he's like so rich that he doesn't even really care if he tanks his own stock. And then he's going to shoot it back up, and he has this crazy vision of like multiple companies that are all going to come together and help out in Mars. To me, I'm like, cool. I can learn a lot from his bio. ENTJ, a lot of people would type Steve Jobs as an ENTJ, and he definitely has TE. Like he leads with TE. So I would say the Steve Jobs bio for you for sure, because he
Okay.
was so good. And I worked for him, five bosses in between to start my career. But let's just say I rolled up the Steve before he died, which I like feel proud of because he built such a cool aura at Apple, that people on the outside will call like reality distortion, or like Steve was not even good at anything. I was like, no, he was very good at, at probably at least two to three different things, and it was like isolating, and not like tolerating bad performance, adhering to his standards, knowing what he wanted, and then just going after and getting it and being unapologetic. So like he ran that company how he wanted. He's like, no, we're gonna have the best people. This is how it's gonna go. You're gonna argue it with me, whatever. I'm right, you're wrong. And he like would insinuate he knew what he wanted more than the customer, but in actuality, like being on the inside, the conviction exercise. I've talked about it maybe on one other podcast before, but it's he trains people every their first day at Apple the same way. You start with negatives, and Steve was known to do that. Where instead of like when you meet for the first time and someone's like, okay, like what do you want out of this deal? He was like, tell me everything that you hate about Apple, and that's where you start. Like it's the inversion, and ENTJs like yourself are in Hormozi. Hormozi's like such an inversion master, where he's like, it's such a power move too when someone's like, hey, like it sounds expensive. He's like, sounds expensive. I was thinking you were going to say it was too cheap. I was about to raise prices. And just like flip the whole injection on his head. I'm like, damn, so good. So Steve would do that too. He'd be like, all right, for the next 3 hours, we're not going to leave until we list every single bad thing anyone has ever heard, said, claimed about Apple. I don't care if it's true. We're going to list on this board. Like, never have I been at a company, even New Reach. I always talk about just, I'm like, when are you going to let me do the Apple exercise? It's just like so negative. And if you don't know how to run it, it can get out of hand because then people feel bad about the company they just joined. But on the second half of the day, where you're supposed to anchor is like, okay, guys, that's it. That's all. just like they were a scam and this, that, and the other. He's like, okay, when we come back from lunch, I'm going to go one by one and we're going to stay here and I'm going to tell you why each one isn't true. And then he just leaves and goes to lunch. And I'm like, holy crap, that's like some confidence that, and I was like, or some brainwashing. So yeah, Apple brainwashes from day one. And the lesson there is like conviction. I learned trumps everything, and Steve had the most conviction as an ENTJ I've ever seen. So I'd read that book and just like lean into the conviction principle for you.
I read the Musk book, and it's still like my favorite book I've ever read. And I
Yeah,
saw
it's
people say that
fascinating.
he's ENTJ, but you think he's a
I
logician?
know, bro. I am so 100% sure he is not. INTJs and ENTJs, you guys always want to claim every successful entrepreneur because it is more likely that they are that type. He is not an ENTJ for sure. He
What
does
makes you
way too
say
many
that?
side quests. Like, think about some of the stuff that, like, if ENTJs prioritize efficiency and hitting targets, to me, Elon
Hmm.
has, think about before Tesla was the biggest company in the world. Like, no one believed in him. Like, it was the dumbest idea ever. He was building electric cars. Like, there wasn't a good comp for it. It's just like not a good business decision. And like sending rockets to space, selling flamethrowers. It sounds like something I would do if, like, in an hour, if you're like, bro, what if we sold, you know, flamethrowers to like people in Nigeria and then we went there and like started a riot? I'd be like, cool, fun, like side quests. So to me, it's just, it's very, very obvious. And I always tell people, I'm like, just because he's the one successful INTP that we have, doesn't mean you can take him away. So there's not any others that I can think of. Like someone told me Sergey Brin at Google was INTP, but most of the time INTPs are like co-founders and they don't talk to the public. So they're yeah, like I don't really like the guruing stuff. Even if we weren't talking about marketing, I would not enjoy being on this podcast and stuff. So I just feel like what is the point of this? A bunch of people watching me talk about stuff. So I just don't get it, and I think we tend to skew that direction. But yeah, maybe the co-founder of Google and Elon. That's what comes to mind.
What's
Usually, like
Josiah?
Josiah's ENTJ or ENFJ. He's
Okay.
typed as both. Both have a similar type stack, but yeah. So like I said, it's a good pairing, and he is also an Enneagram 8 where he wants to be in control. ENTJs tend to be either my Enneagram type 5 or 8. The desire for like no one to be in control. To me, I'm like, okay, n- no one deserves to be the supreme ruler of everything. We can all lead at like what we're good at, where ENTJs at their best are like, no, give me the room. I'm gonna take us to the promised land. Like you guys will trust me. And the ones that are really mature have like leaned into that for good, and they know that they can use their control, which inspires someone like me to like lean into it too. I'm like, okay, there are situations where you got to take over, like hostile takeover. Everyone listen to me. I was like, it's just, I get it. It's more efficient, and like you know best, and no one's seeing it, so you're just gonna like not spend 6 hours arguing it anymore. So I appreciate the times when he will switch from like very mature of like wanting consensus in the room. He'd be like, "Hey, what does everyone think of this?" And genuinely just like wanting to kind of gauge where people are at. When sometimes I'm like, "Bro, like like you already know best. Like you should make this decision now." Even I would. So like to me it's funny, but I think there's a lot of growth in that, and a lot of that I like to learn from my business part. Even like gurus tend to be Enneagram threes. They want to either be successful or be seen as successful. To them it's like the same high. It's just like
Yeah.
fake it till you make it is like often their mantra. Which at their worst I'm like don't do that. I'm like, don't fake it till you make it that much. I'm like, it becomes less to me an affirmation and more like you're trying to like trick people to be someone you're not. But at their best, like they are like Michael Jordan, and they're like, no, I'm going to be the best that ever did it. I'm going to be successful. Everyone's going to know me. Like my logo's on the back of everyone's shoe, and I can handle the spotlight, and you probably can't. You don't know how hard my life is, and that's kind of how I feel like people like Pace. I'm like, bro, doing all these podcasts, I'm like, it's taxing. I can be in like media buying all day, but I can't do this all day. I was like, I go home exhausted for being in the spotlight. I don't like people coming up to me, shaking my hand after if it's like 20 people. So to me, it's so fun when you find that right pairing. Um, but yeah, the only variation is like I didn't get the powerless trauma. So I think like we we probably just skewed apart there. Because to me, if I would have felt that, then I probably would have wanted to be in control a little bit more than I actually do. So since I never did, and no one's really like hit that line for me, I'm just like, okay, cool. Could happen, and you can shift. But in general, dude, like, yeah, you have the power. What I'll say is, I'll change my opinion. You could be a solo founder or a co-founder. ENTJs can do it all themselves. Like Hormozi clearly loves to do it all himself. He doesn't like to share the spotlight, which I
What I
appreciate.
found, I hate the idea of having a business partner actually, but
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I love having a really strong like number two. Like recently, I just brought a sales director out here, um, and like we're like best friends now, and I mean he's making great money. He's making more than he's ever made. Like he's about to buy a Cartier Santos, which is like super fulfilling to me. Um,
Sick.
but I really like I treat him almost as if he's like a business partner, but like I love giving him autonomy and at the same time being in control. It's kind of weird. But
Ooh, dude. That's where I was gonna go before I got distracted. So you just keyed in on the answer to your own question you asked me. So autonomy and let's call it control exist on a different skew for me because the opposite of autonomy is like lack of movement and lack of freedom to me. The opposite of control to me is just like chaos, and I'm really good at existing in chaos. So to me, I'm like, cool, in an environment where maybe if you're the CEO and I'm the number two, here's what's gonna happen, guys, is like, please come work for me or Braden right now, and then eventually Braden's gonna get bigger than me, and I'm gonna go be your number two, and I won't feel any sort of ego way about it. That's like my thing. It's like, cool, man. It's I'm like, if you're it, you're up next. I'm like, let's just like run up the numbers and be the Patriots. You can be Tom Brady, and I'll be whoever he's throwing the ball to or whatever. So to me, I'm just like, I just want to win and be on the best team and just like destroy everyone. That feels good. That
yeah,
feels like it feels good, like not making it close. I do like that about Hormozi. I'm like, dang, I would have loved to be on that launch because I would have been like 100 million. Let's just run it up more. Let's like make it harder for the next person to even come close. Like I want people to try and just be like, man, I want people to quit because the difference in the gap is so big. So that to me is the fun of like when people are in the right hierarchy because I probably wouldn't do very well, and I haven't done very well historically if there's ENTJs or people who want to be in control under me because a power struggle can ensue
yeah.
when someone wants to be in control and is naturally good at that. And I don't want to be the CEO anyway. And I'm like, well, can't let you though because you're inexperienced and it's got to be me. So to me, that happened with shout out to Dakota. Even though you said maybe you're typing now, not as an ETJ. If you ever see this, he I saw from like right away that he wanted to run the agency how he wanted to, but at the time he had just started media buying, so I was like, okay, like dampen expectations. Like you're growing fast, you're like doing better than your peers, but for him at the time, I assessed it to be like I'm ready now. And maybe he was. He might have been. He's doing really well now with another director of marketing, Caleb, who used to work for us too. So like I love that though, is the ambition that you guys have. It's just like I'm gonna get there and I'm gonna do it. Like, are you with me or not? Because if not, I'm going right through you, not around, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, if that all plays out, dude, amazing. But yeah, to me, like throw me into chaotic environments, like I that's when everyone else seems to fall apart and people are like, oh, I don't know what's happening. And normally, like if Josiah's like, cool, I just like I'm like, oh, it's cool. We're good. We can solve any problem. So again, the calming thing is just like I feel calm in chaos. There is an INTP ENTJ meme where it's like it says, oh, like you guys don't like this. I'm like, welcome to my life. Every day is like this in my head, like kind of thing. This is like home field advantage or something. So for I don't know if I explained that properly, but yeah, basically chaos and control exist on a slider, autonomy. So as long as someone gives me autonomy, they can tell me what to do. Just tell me what you want. I'm like, how much money you want to make? Cool. Then I'll make a plan that'll get us there. And so long as we can shake on that, then it usually works out really well.
I heard this from Phil Knight, the founder of Nike. He said, "Tell people what to do, but not how to do it, and let them surprise you with the results."
Then you got to hire people like me and people that actually can do that. Because there's
Yeah,
some people that need to be told what to do, and they're good at
yeah.
that.
I
They're like
hate working with
soldiers.
people who need to be told what to do.
Me
I
too.
like being a commander of people who are autonomous. who
Yeah,
like surprised me. Yeah.
I'll teach people the same thing like two or three times, but if they don't get it, it goes back to probably IQ at that point. It's just like they're not learning fast enough. So to
Yeah.
me, like you gotta, I'm actually curious, what IQ test do you use? Because we use Brick. I've bricked over 1,500 people now for IQ, and there's a
I need
baseline.
a
Like if, for me,
we actually don't have an IQ test. Like we don't do that with our company, but I want to. I want to find
oh,
a
that
good
was
one.
wrong about the White Bridge. It said that you IQ test people.
Oh, it definitely pulled that from like a meme that I made on Twitter as like before I work with a client, I IQ test them and I had like a fake IQ test.
Oh, I actually do that, and it's real. We IQ our business partners, IQ anyone here, and
That's smart.
if someone is under a certain score, I know what the score is. I just generally don't do well with them. I'm like, if you're below, it's only cognition and it measures attention to detail, logical reasoning, numerical reasoning, verbal. And it's not that dumber people can't get there and be more successful. I've seen way dumber people than me be way more successful, and I've seen smarter people than me be less successful than me, quote unquote, business wise. So it's not like it's the end all be all, but it is pretty predictive of how fast you learn. So if you want to move fast, then someone needs to play around your level. Usually I say 5 points above, 5 points below. But if you're like way off, then you're both like, okay, I'm getting it, you're not, or vice versa. So to me, I'm like, I know what my line is. I'm like, hey man, sorry, God didn't give you the right gifts to work here. No
What's your
hard feelings.
cutoff?
For marketing position, 68 on COG. I'll show you
Oh, well,
the
that's like super low. That's like
it's
primate
bell curved.
level.
No, it's bell curved. So like a 68 is 68th percentile of people that take the test, not of the maybe global population. So it's a 50% is where Brick like recommends that they don't recommend you use it for screening, and they say that like you can get in trouble in New York if you do that. I'm just like, well, so be it. I was like, I it's definitely a hiring bias, but everyone's gonna have a different one. So mine just happens to be I don't want to have to teach someone four times to do the same thing. I just can't. And likewise, super geniuses probably don't like working with me. They're like, this kid's just like couldn't get into Harvard, couldn't get into Ivy League. So yeah, like the best score ever is a 91 or 92 on the Brick test. I want to give it to you. I'm curious what you are, but I would guess you're somewhere above 75 to 90 would be my guess. That's the range, I bet. Usually I'm not like very far off. It's just like some certain people just process information faster. And again, it's an efficiency thing. So, um, ENTJs typically think they're always smart, but there's a lot of dumb ones. Like personality doesn't indicate IQ, unfortunately. Um, there's no superior personality type, just like the strengths you play in. But IQ, both me and Josiah believe in, yeah, like it is think about it of like someone needs to develop grit, self-discipline, curiosity, emotional quotient, gratitude. They have to learn all of the intangible hard skills in order to compete with someone who's just smarter. And thankfully, that is possible. And that's how you win in life is you just do that, grit it out, be more self-disciplined. Like that's the key to success for everyone. But and at best or at worst, people with high IQ, they coast early on. They like are so far ahead of their classmates that they stop developing grit, stop developing discipline. But then the absolute like monsters, the ones that have both. I've noticed when someone's, it feels really, really like we would both hate this. You will feel really incapable if you're ever around someone who works harder than you and is clearly smarter. Then I'm like, damn, I have no shot. Like being better at him at anything. So it's the worst. Yeah,
You
and
read
that's kind of
Outliers?
yeah. I've read Outliers. Gladwell.
There's a part in the book where he talks about how IQ matters up until 120, and then anything past that, you don't have any advantage when it comes to material success. It just comes down to your skill with getting what you want out of other people.
Dude, I'm gonna have
It's
to
like a
reread
certain.
that. Both me and Josiah have scored 128 on an online like traditional IQ, and both of us are in the high 70s typically on Brick. So Brick is yeah like a different beast of a test, but it's really hard. I've also tried like over 10 times to ace it, and two of the sections I can pretty much ace every time. There's one I've never got above the baseline median average, which is attention to detail. So it's tough. Uh, but yeah, bro, like that's probably true. 120, you're like smart enough to get the because business isn't rocket science. It's once you learn it, you're like, cool, I want profit. because I want profit, I have to make more in revenue, and then there's an expense margin. So at a certain point, it basically you need maybe basic algebra or pre-calc at most in order to be good at business. Where yeah, knowing Diffie-Q and a bunch of other stuff would just be way overkill in a
Right.
business environment. You'd be like, no, just close him. You don't have to like analyze his uh, tendency to close if you use this close. Just like try them both right now. So I agree. If anyone out there is dumb as rocks, you can still be a sales rep. That's the one position in this org where I've seen idiot savants just like wipe the rest of the floor that are way smarter than them. So there's always a role. It just won't be as a media buyer. Media buyer's got to be a certain cognition for me because you could bankrupt the company in one day with like a zero. So that's why attention to detail, which I've screwed up before, never with the full zero, but there's been times where I'm like, dang, like no one knows this because thankfully I've overcompensated with, yeah, the blended ROAS looks good, but that was $800 that like clearly was wasted. Should have turned that off, missed it. So to me, like I had deficiencies because of IQ in that area for sure. Attention to detail, made up for it with logical and numerical reasoning, where I'm just like, cool. And that's how I try to win is like business is a math problem, keep it that way. And yeah, that's if you ever feel like, hey, we're just doesn't feel like we can get to the target, I'm really good at coming in and be like, this is how you would do it. Maybe it's harder than you would, maybe it's more effort, but like this is the easiest path. And then I'm like, what do you want? Optimal, the most efficient path, the most effective path. I'm like, tell me what path you want. Tell me if you like want it to be hard or easy, but you can't have fast, hard, easy, and get rich quick. That just like doesn't work. So I usually help people choose their sacrifice, I guess is what I would say. Yeah.
Dude, this
So
podcast went completely in a direction I was not expecting. It was honestly like way more high level than I was expecting. But
cool. Well, we can
it
get we
was
can get
really
in the
interesting.
weeds if you want next time. I'm down to come back and you can come in and like reel me in because if you get me started on personality and stuff, which happened, I won't shut up about it. So sorry, guys. Yeah,
No
but dude,
worries,
I
bro.
had a good time and I'm glad that we met. I think that we'll probably do some stuff together. And dude, if you
100%.
want to come, I know we just met, but we're doing a free in-person mastermind for top 1% info. And if you jump to 600K a month that quickly, by the time you're there, you'll probably qualify. So I'm only inviting 100 people in the room, not trying to make money off of it. Uh,
I mean,
I
I'll
would
take the
never,
piff
yeah.
on your one-on-one mentorship
Yeah,
anyways.
like
So
if I do pitch something, then I pitch something. I would never like Hormozi just lock myself into saying I'll never sell you anything. Like I definitely will if I feel like it's good and valuable. But right now the plan is it's not pitch, and I'm just trying to learn and bring in people I want to learn from. And the ultimate goal for this is if you guys aren't in the top 1%, the one thing that I think is cool, but not maybe the most competitive advantage thing that we have is we index 20,000 different courses, and top 1% means like 200 invites for me in my head. So anyone who comes out, we have room. We're going to show off basically a fulfillment mechanism and community mechanism for pulling more money out of kind of any course, low ticket, high ticket. It is a follow up mechanism that's community led growth. So the idea is I've never done this before. Mastermind in this half of the office, pop in to 120 new students that we're trying to get. The goal is this is the crazy thing is we believe we can get 100% student success rate in real estate of people doing their first deal in 30 days. So
damn.
it might not be like 100% ROI in 30 days, but they will have made money in 30 days, which is we've never done before, but we have yet to fail at getting everyone their first deal, and it's been multiple months in a row. So it's like it's always an interesting thing. Like Pace is such a genius, and they'll just hive mind, collaborate, and call leads until usually by Friday they have 1 to 5 deals like in the bag, and all of them have made money in some way on the deal. So super cool, very unique to us. That's what's going on. So if anyone out here wants to come, doesn't quite qualify, still apply. I'll drop the link maybe in the comments of your own video. Dude, what are you trying to do? I'm stealing the CTA. So like what are you trying to do or get out of this podcast? I'm curious. I should have asked way before.
I mean, I just want to like drive traffic to you. I'm just getting value out of this podcast and like I was
Okay.
surprised like Prince hit me up. He's like, "Yo, do you want to run a podcast with Nick?" I'm like, "All right, bet. Like I'd love to get some value. Like why does he even want to talk to me?" but then I heard you were trying to grow your YouTube, so that's
Yeah,
kind of the
trying to
plan.
grow my
Just
YouTube. Do it,
Mhm.
and like I'm sure you'll probably help me do that. I actually don't even know how many people follow your channel. I just trust Prince because like Prince, I respected. He came up to me and I was like, bro, you were like so a part of so many school game winners. That doesn't happen by accident. You don't just like kind of convince people to bring you along for the ride that many times. Once or
Yeah,
twice can be an accident, but not that many. So when he recommends someone to me, I know it's like serious. And to me, I was like, cool, say no more, let's do it. I'm excited. So it's really cool watching Sam Ovens create this crazy, like I was there the day we bought school, and school has spawned so many different weird versions of like funnels that I've never seen before, which is super sick. And it reminds me, I'm like, man, people can really sell any sort of info they want in this world, and there's a buyer for it. So yeah, dude. I would love to have you here October 21st. I'll send you the details right after this, but it'll be a dope room. Some big players.
yeah.
Cool.
I'm also like 100%. I just bought Jeremy Hand's program, but once I like get through it, I'm 100% buying a Gexa, like your
Dude,
school program. Yeah.
thank you. I will be second to Jeremy all day. Jeremy, dude, it sounds like I'm gonna buy it too. You should ask for an affiliate link for that. If that will help Jeremy's money go up, just cut us in into your affiliate program for your mastermind if you have one. And yeah, I'll buy through the affiliate link too. But dude, thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate you, Nick.